Kirk and his girlfriend Pam are part of a group of 5 friends traveling through Texas to visit an old family homestead. They've picked up a disturbing hitchhiker earlier, and now they're running low on gas in the middle of nowhere. Kirk spots a farmhouse in the distance and decides to walk up and ask if they have any fuel to spare. It seems like a reasonable idea at the time, but this decision becomes his death sentence. Kirk walks onto the property and notices strange bone decorations hanging everywhere. He calls out but gets no answer, so he walks right through the open front door. The house is dark and filled with the stench of decay and animal remains. Kirk calls out again, and suddenly, a massive figure appears from a side room. It's Leatherface, wearing his signature mask of human skin. Before Kirk can even react or process what he's seeing, Leatherface swings a sledgehammer with devastating force, striking Kirk directly in the temple. The impact is instant and brutal. Kirk drops to the floor immediately, convulsing violently as his body goes into shock. Leatherface drags Kirk's twitching body deeper into the house, and we hear a metal door slam shut. This death works perfectly because of how sudden and merciless it is. Kirk doesn't get a chase scene or a chance to fight back. He's simply erased in one brutal moment. The sledgehammer blow represents the cold, efficient violence of a slaughterhouse, which is exactly what Hooper intended. This is how cattle are killed, and Kirk receives the same treatment. By making the first death so shockingly quick, the film establishes that nobody is safe, and death can come without warning. But this was just the beginning of the horror waiting at that farmhouse. Pam. After Kirk disappears into the house, Pam waits outside for several minutes. When he doesn't return, she decides to investigate herself, walking up to the same farmhouse. The property is eerily quiet except for strange animal sounds coming from somewhere nearby. Pam enters through the front door, calling out for Kirk, desperately hoping he's just taking a while. She walks through rooms decorated with furniture made from bones and human remains, growing increasingly disturbed by what she's seeing. Pam pushes open a door and enters what appears to be a side room or workshop. Her eyes go wide with absolute terror. Kirk's body is stuffed inside a freezer, and there are human remains everywhere. Before she can scream or run, Leatherface appears behind her and grabs her with overwhelming strength. Pam struggles and fights, but Leatherface is massive and unstoppable. He carries her thrashing body into another room where meat hooks hang from the ceiling. In one of the most notorious moments in horror cinema, Leatherface lifts Pam up and impales her on a meat hook through her upper back. Pam screams in absolute agony as the hook pierces through her body and she's left hanging there, suspended like a piece of meat in a slaughterhouse. She's still alive, writhing in pain, forced to watch as Leatherface fires up his chainsaw and dismembers Kirk's corpse right in front of her. The film cuts away, but we know Pam dies slowly on that hook, in unimaginable pain and terror. This death is arguably the most disturbing in the entire film because Pam doesn't die quickly. The meat hook represents the complete dehumanization of the victims. They're literally treated like livestock in a slaughterhouse. Hooper's decision to show Pam still alive and conscious on the hook elevates this from a simple kill to genuine torture. This moment cements the Texas chain, Saw Massacre's reputation for unrelenting brutality, and transforms Leatherface from a mysterious threat into an absolute monster. But the nightmare was far from over for the remaining friends. Jerry. Back at the van, Jerry is the last remaining male member of the group. Both Kirk and Pam have been gone for way too long, and Jerry knows something is wrong. Despite the ominous feeling hanging over everything, Jerry decides he needs to find his friends. He walks up to the farmhouse as the sun begins to set, entering the same death trap that claimed his companions. Jerry searches through the house, calling out their names, moving deeper into the nightmare. Jerry opens the freezer in the side room and makes a horrifying discovery. Both Kirk and Pam's bodies are crammed inside, mutilated and frozen. The shock and horror on Jerry's face is palpable as he tries to process what he's seeing. He stumbles backward, and in that moment of distraction, Leatherface appears from the shadows. Jerry turns to run, but Leatherface is already swinging his sledgehammer. The first blow catches Jerry in the head, dropping him instantly to the floor, but Leatherface doesn't stop there. He brings the hammer down again and again, beating Jerry repeatedly with savage, mechanical efficiency. Each impact is brutal and final, ensuring there's no chance of survival. Leatherface shows no emotion, no hesitation, just methodical violence as he eliminates another intruder. Jerry's death emphasizes the cold, workmanlike approach Leatherface takes to killing. The repeated hammer blows mirror the way a butcher might tenderize meat, reinforcing the slaughterhouse metaphor that runs throughout the film. Unlike Kirk's instant death, Jerry's multiple impacts create a more prolonged and brutal scene. The fact that Jerry dies immediately after discovering his friends' bodies adds an extra layer of tragedy. He has just seconds to process their fate before suffering the same end. But the sun was setting, and the worst was still to come. Franklin is wheelchair-bound, which makes him vulnerable from the start. He's also been increasingly paranoid and difficult throughout the trip, annoying his sister Sally with his complaints. Now it's nightfall, and Franklin and Sally are searching for their missing friends. They're moving through the dark Texas countryside near the farmhouse with Sally pushing Franklin's wheelchair along a dirt path. The atmosphere is thick with dread as strange sounds echo through the darkness. Franklin keeps telling Sally he thinks something terrible has happened, and for once, his paranoia is completely justified. As they move through the darkness, Leatherface suddenly bursts from the bushes with his chainsaw, already roaring at full throttle. The noise is deafening and terrifying in the quiet night. Franklin barely has time to register what's happening before Leatherface plunges the spinning chainsaw blade directly into his chest and abdomen. The chainsaw rips through Franklin's torso with devastating force, and his screams mix with the mechanical scream of the weapon. Blood sprays everywhere as the chainsaw does its horrific work. Sally watches in absolute horror as her brother is torn apart right in front of her eyes. Franklin's death is fast but incredibly violent. The chainsaw doesn't just kill him, it destroys him. Sally runs screaming into the darkness as Leatherface revs his chainsaw and gives chase, leaving Franklin's mutilated body behind in the wheelchair. Franklin's death is significant because it's the first time we see Leatherface use his signature weapon for an actual kill in the film. The chainsaw becomes an extension of Leatherface's brutality, loud, savage, and utterly destructive. The fact that Franklin is disabled makes this death particularly cruel and shows that Leatherface targets the vulnerable without mercy. Sally becomes the final girl, and her nightmare is just beginning. The chainsaw through Franklin's chest is visceral proof that nobody is safe from Leatherface's rampage. But one family member wasn't done killing just yet: the hitchhiker. Earlier in the film, the group picked up a strange hitchhiker who turned out to be part of the cannibal family. He demonstrated disturbing behavior, cutting himself and Franklin, showing them gruesome photographs of cattle slaughter, and generally making everyone deeply uncomfortable. They eventually forced him out of the van, but that wasn't the end of his story. Now it's deep into the night, and Sally has been captured by the family, subjected to psychological torture at their dinner table, and has managed to escape. She's running for her life down a dark highway, covered in blood and screaming for help. The hitchhiker chases Sally down the highway, cackling and waving a straight razor, determined to bring her back to the family. Sally is running on pure adrenaline and terror, her screams piercing the night air. Suddenly, headlights appear in the distance. A massive 18-wheeler truck is barreling down the highway. Sally manages to dodge to the side of the road just in time, but the hitchhiker is so focused on his prey that he doesn't see the truck until it's too late. The massive vehicle slams into the hitchhiker at full highway speed, and his body is launched into the air from the devastating impact. He crashes to the pavement, clearly dead from the collision. The truck doesn't even slow down, leaving the hitchhiker's broken body on the road. For Sally, it's a moment of relief in an endless nightmare. One of her tormentors is finally dead. The hitchhiker's death provides a brief moment of justice in an otherwise hopeless situation. Unlike the methodical slaughterhouse kills performed by Leatherface, this death is sudden, accidental, and almost karmic. The truck represents the outside world, the normal civilization that exists beyond the nightmare of the farmhouse, literally crushing the evil that's been terrorizing Sally. This death also shifts the power dynamic slightly, giving Sally her first real advantage. But Leatherface was still out there, chainsaw in hand.